Ah! Hold on, sorry. How is everybody this evening? Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to log in, to start getting ready, to share. Put on my handy dandy little glasses. You already know, right? So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes and then we're going to get into it. So let me go ahead and share. Let me alert everybody that we are live. And yeah, we're going to get into it in just a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to share, guys. So just bear with me a moment. Make sure you guys can't see my pajama pants. Let's share. Everyone, right? The show is live. We're going to have a great show for you guys today. Okay. All right. I did my sharing. Hopefully you guys did the same. I'm going to fix my shirt because I'm looking a hot, crazy little mess right now. I do apologize. I've been sleeping all day, so don't mind me. Literally didn't even feel like putting on any makeup on, but you know what? I said I had to come on and do the show because you know what? The show always must go on, right? So feel free to share, guys. We appreciate you guys every single week who tune into this crazy thing we call the show. As you already know, let me know where you guys are tuning in from as well so I can go ahead and shout you out. And also, hi Blue, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. And also for anyone who's listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, Media OQ, and all the other platforms out there, you already know. Send us a message at itstheshowpodcast@gmail.com and I'll be sure to respond to you. Oh, you can't see my pajama pants. That's okay. Don't tell nobody I'm wearing pajama pants, okay? For those of you who don't know, I go with the name of Nina Rock. I'm La Latina Loquita. To my left, we don't have anybody today, but hopefully she'll chime in the chat in just a few minutes. But other than that, we're going to get into it because you know the show must go on, as I said. So, guys, with that being said, first of all, let me go ahead and tell you the topic for today, okay? So the topic for today is it better to be loved or chosen? We're going to get into that in just a little bit. But like we do every single week, of course, you know, we have to give you the recap. Now, for those of you who have been watching the show for the last 7 years, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you everywhere, all around the world that watches and listens to us. We appreciate you, everybody who listens to us in Germany, in Japan, in the Arab nations, in France, all over the place. We appreciate you guys so much. Hey Irene, how are you? Shout out to Orlando in the house, right? Shout out to everybody who listens to us all throughout the US. We appreciate you guys. And of course, those of you who listen to us on iHeart, Spotify, Media OQ, and of course, you know, you can watch us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I'll be posting more stuff in there as well. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and do a recap. Now, again, if you've been watching this show every week, you know that every Monday we're here at 8 o'clock. But if you noticed, we were not here last week. So last week I was in Vegas. Yes. Now they normally say that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But I'm going to chime you in on just a little bit of some of the things that went down. Right? I had a blast. We had a great time. I was actually there for a convention. And it was so inspiring and so moving that I was just like, wow, some of the stories, you know, I've been to tons of conventions. Let me just start with that. I've been to a lot of conventions for a lot of different companies and stuff like that. But this one that I went to this last week, it was just so incredible because there was more millionaires there than anything. But we're not going to get into it. You're going to have to watch another one of my episodes, another one of my shows. We can get into the full details. But I was highly impressed with this one. So just the crowd, there was over 90,000 people and it was just amazing. So if you watch some of my Snapchats or some of my TikToks and things like that, well, not TikToks, Well, yeah, there's some TikToks on there, Instagrams. You'll see some of the highlights of it. But that's why I wasn't here last week. So, you know, I had to go to that convention and Angie was not here to do the show. So there was no show last week. So, but we're here today. Well, I'm here today and we're going to get into it. So again, after I came back from convention, then I had to have a beach day, right? Because it's Florida and it's me, and why not have a beach day, right? For those of you who know, I love the beach. So I was out on the beach with my girl and we just had a great time just chilling, enjoying the sun, enjoying the water. But I gotta tell you, those waves were rough. I'm not even gonna lie. They knocked me out. I felt like I was doing a workout. But anyway, it was a great beach day. And we're right in the dead of summer. So, you know, we got to enjoy whatever time is left. And then we have somebody else that just joined in. Hola, Rafael, ¿cómo estás? Gracias por su sintonía. And yeah, so that was what I did all last week. And just had a great time and just enjoyed life, because at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy life, then what are we doing, right? So with that being said, guys, we're going to get into it. So topic of the day. Okay. Now, I mentioned the topic earlier, but I'm just going to go into it again really quick. So the topic for today is it better to be loved or chosen? That's the question of the night. So I had posted this question the other day on my social media just to kind of see what you guys were thinking. And please feel free to chime in. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube or are listening to us on iHeart and Spotify and all of that, send us a message. Let me know your thoughts, okay? And what you think. Is it better to be loved or chosen? So, like I said, I had posted this the other day. And I got a response from someone, from Ashley. Shout out to Ashley. And her response was, hold on, let me get to it. Let me find it. Okay. She said it was better to be loved because she was already chosen. Now, I didn't want to get into the details because who is she chosen by? Does she mean something more than just a person? Does she mean something more spiritual? I don't really want to get into the details of that, but, you know, I just wanted to put it out there for you guys. So what do you guys think? Is it better to be loved or chosen? And the reason that I wanted to do this topic was because, you know, I was watching TikTok like all of us do, right? Let's see. Irene says chosen. Okay, chosen. You said chosen. What's your reason why, Irene? So I was watching this TikTok, right? And I'm going to go to the TikTok. And it pretty much said that, you know, they asked the question, better to be loved or chosen. And he explained the difference, right? Because love, according to him, according to TikTok, and I'll post a TikTok so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Love is an emotional state, right? You can love someone and not choose them. You can love someone and not want to be with them. That is all true. You know what I mean? Because it's an emotional feeling. And some people get scared of those emotions, right? And you can love someone who just may not be completely good to you, because you know what? When you choose someone, you're making a logical decision, not an emotional one. You're looking at this person for what they can do, what they can bring to your future. Like if you're a younger couple, if you're younger, you know, can you have a family with this person? Can this person provide? Is this person going to be a good mother, a housewife, whatever it is, partner in life, someone that can bring you up? You're making a logical decision in most cases. Let me put it like that, okay? Because some of y'all be making some dumbass mistakes and some dumbass choices, but whatever. That's a whole nother topic of conversation, right? But when someone chooses you, right, that's more of a logical decision, right? What can this person bring? What do I see in this person? And sometimes it's not love. Sometimes it's just something that fills a need at that moment in time, right? At that moment in your life when you are choosing that person. You can love over here, but that person may not be the right person for you, and you, your soul, your mind, and all that knows that, right? Because like I said, love is an emotional feeling, right? And being chosen is logical. So, but then I started to think, right? And again, please chime in. I want to know your thoughts as well. Shout out to everybody who listens to us, like I said, in Spotify, iHeartMedia, OQ, and all of that, right? I started to think, why wouldn't you choose the person you love, right? I don't know, just because obviously your body is telling you that, yeah, you love that person, right? There's something there for that person, but hold on a second. I'm getting messages here. Let me get it out. Okay, there we go. Right? So I asked her, like, but then what happens is that's when usually heartbreak falls into place, right? Because you have so much love for a person, but you know that that person's not right for you. And then when they don't choose you, now what? Now you're stuck heartbroken, right? So how do we resolve that issue? I don't know if there's an actual way to resolve it, right? Maybe just don't fall in love. I don't know. I'm just asking for a friend, right? So let me see, because Angie is trying to log into the show. So let me see if we can go ahead and bring her in. Hold on a second. Irene has a comment. Chosen because a partner can love you from the sidelines, but may not choose to commit. Hold on, let me see more. Being chosen requires effort, consistency, and sacrifice. Wow. So why not? And yes, all of that is true. It does involve commitment, consistency, and sacrifice. But why not sacrifice for the person you love? And put that out there while I try to bring Angie out on here. Let's see. Let's see if it'll go through. Let's see. All right. I'm trying. So yes, being consistent, effort, all of that. Yes, but why not sacrifice for the one you love? That's just my question. Because at the end of the day, shouldn't love overcome everything? Shouldn't it? Love is a feeling, choice is an action. Ooh, that is so true. Love is a feeling and choice is an action. That is correct. That is correct. But why not choose the one you love? That's just my question, and I'm always going to go back to that, because why not choose the one you love? Why not? That is like the question that I that I struggle with this, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because it is an interesting topic. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think we've all done it. We've all chosen someone we didn't love, and we've all been in love with someone that we weren't with, or that we know we shouldn't be with, or whatever the case is, right? So I'm wondering, what is the disconnect on that? Or maybe the people from way back in the days, right? The all a time ago, right? Maybe they had it right when they just chose their partners for life. Love had nothing to do with it. Love had absolutely nothing to do with it, right? It was really like a mutual decision, a contract. So you an agreement, right? You can bring me this, I can give you this. That's literally how they had marriages back in the day, right? That's how they had partnerships back in the day. They were more business decisions, choices that families made between each other of why their daughter, their son, so to speak, would be the better choice for the other. You get what I'm saying? So maybe that's the right way to go. I don't know. I'm just asking. So, but I think that, and again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, guys. This is just a conversation that we're having today because I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was interesting when I saw that TikTok, because it really did make a lot of sense. Let me go ahead and find that TikTok so I can go ahead and go back to it. And let me find that TikTok. I should have got my other phone, but anyway, let's try to bring Angie back in while I find the TikTok. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if it'll let her in. Let's see. Well, I find the other TikTok because I thought it was an interesting topic. Let's see. Oh, Angie's coming in. Let's see, let's see, let's see. See, Angie's trying to join in, but if she can't get in, we're just going to keep going, guys, right? So, I'm going to go ahead and share the TikTok video so you guys can see it after the show so you can see what I'm talking about. And I really hope that this helps some people because sometimes, we get stuck with, like, why, why not me, and this and that, you know. Um, all right, it's not letting me bring her in. Okay, I don't know why. Um, so yeah. So, in the video, I'm watching the video, right? Don't judge my iPad, okay? Choosing a person goes far beyond initial chemistry. That is correct. So this is saying that the person can love you, can care for you, and tell you all the most beautiful things and everything that you quote unquote want to hear and still not commit to you, right? Right? Because it is emotion. Love without action is just an emotion, right? We can love our dog, right? But we choose our dog, right? There's different kinds of love as well. The worst is toxic love. Yeah, I guess. But sometimes that toxic love is exciting, isn't it? I'm just saying, right? The thing is that sometimes when we talk about love being an emotion, right? Sometimes that emotion is not stable. That's what it's saying in the video, right? So, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see if we can bring Angie back in. I'll try again. So, yeah. So the thing is, like we said, being chosen is a choice. It's a decision that somebody made to choose you, to stand by your side, right? Um, the thing is that the problem becomes is that when you love somebody and they're not choosing you, right? It hurts, right? It really does hurt because you're like, why? Why is he not choosing me? Or why is she not choosing me? Right? I love her. I love him. Whatever the case is, right? And in the bottom line is like saying, I would choose that person, but why is that person not choosing me? Right? And you know, it all comes down to, like Irene said, effort. It all comes down to clarity. It all comes down to who that person has made a logical decision about. You know what I mean? And I guess, it's something that I guess we all should. Toxic, exciting, could be a little bit dangerous, but sometimes it's fun, right? Now, in some ways, I mean, look at people who are in abusive relationships, right? Usually the person who's being abused is really totally in love with the person, and they don't understand why they're being treated the way that they are. That toxic, yes. You know what I'm saying? Is that dangerous? Absolutely. You know what I mean? And the person who is the abuser, maybe they really do love the person and don't really know any other way to express it. I'm not justifying. Trust me, I'm not. But you know, it's just one of these things, right? But obviously, in that situation, they still have chosen that person, right? A choice can be also compatibility. Yes, it can be, right? But you know what? When they so I don't know. So then the question becomes, which is better? Is it better to be loved or chosen, right? Because when you're chosen, like, that person, like I said, that person's going to be there for you. That person is going to stand by you and always have your back because they chose you, right? And like, is that better? Because then can you then turn around? You can fall in love with that person. I think it's possible, right? I think it's possible. But the worst thing would be is to be chosen by somebody knowing that that person loves somebody else. Because then what does that? I think it's just all confusing. Like, I don't know the right answer, guys. I don't. I'm just talking shit. Like, basically what I do, right? But I thought it was an interesting topic because it is so true. Like, which is better? Is it better to be loved or is it better to be chosen? You know, you don't choose who you love often, and can lead to people's draining situationships. That is true. You never choose who you love. I think your heart chooses that for yourself. You know what I'm saying? The heart makes that decision for you because it's an emotion. Like I said, it's emotion. It's a feeling. It's how someone makes you feel. You know what I mean? But I think being chosen sometimes may be better. I don't know. I don't know the right answer. You know what I mean? Um, but I'm finished watching the video. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, I was just watching the rest of the video because it is true, right? Um, because at the end of the day, and this is just my random thoughts, guys, just my random thoughts. At the end of the day, when someone chooses you, right, they've made that decision. Like I said, they truly made that decision already, right? They're so yeah. I don't know. Just my thoughts for the day. Um, but I don't know. I guess in some instances it is better to be chosen, right? Because why wait for somebody? What you watching? I'm watching a TikTok video that I'm talking about. So at the end of the day, let me see. To be chosen, you serve. Let me see. To be chosen, you serve a partner who removes uncertainty about your standing in that life. You invest, not and prioritize each other. Correct. That's a good point because, like I said, when someone chooses you, I dropped my earring, guys. When someone chooses you, it's completely different because, like I said, they've made that conscious decision, right? They're giving you that clarity. They're giving you that consistency, that commitment. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Always choose somebody who chooses you, right? Always choose somebody who chooses you. You can love a bunch of people, but always choose the one that's choosing you. Don't go for that emotion anymore. And that's just my opinion. Don't go for the because you know love I guess can come and go. Happens every day, right? People fall in love every day and they fall out of love every day, right? People's hearts get broken every day. But when someone is chosen, it's a little bit more security in that. A little bit more of obviously a lot more of a commitment, right? And like I said, maybe they just see someone that benefits their life a whole lot better. But I think if people more understand that, I think there would be less heartbreak because at the end of the day, we kind of like get stuck with, but I love that person. You know what I mean? And why doesn't that person love me? Well, he might, they might, she might, but they haven't chosen you. And that's what you have to really look at, not being chosen, right? Because at the end of the day, being chosen is a whole different ballgame, right? So I don't know. I want to be both. I want to be chosen and loved. How about that? Why can't I have both, right? Why can that not be possible? Why can that not be possible? And I think that as we get older, I think that becomes less of a thing, right? I think when we're younger, and again, just my opinion, fight with me if you want, doesn't really matter, right? I think that when you're younger, you can kind of, you know, I hate to say it like this, but you don't really have enough life experience to know what it is that you want and don't want, right? You fall in love when you're younger and you're like, oh my God, I want to be with this person forever, right? Doesn't matter what happens at that point because you haven't experienced enough in life to say what you like and what you don't like, right? So Angie says love and in love are two different things. That is correct, right? That is 100% correct. Um, so I think though, as we get older, right? We don't just look for the love anymore. Just again, just my opinion. We look at something, we look at things differently now. We're not we're thinking more logically. We're not thinking more with our heart, right? We're not following that heart. We've had conversations about this is better to follow your heart or follow your mind, right? We've had these type of conversations before, right? But when it comes down to it, this is what it really comes down to: is love or being somebody's choice. That's really what it could be. Angie says you can love anyone, and Irene says sometimes people love out of loneliness. That is true. Sometimes people do love out of loneliness, right? Sometimes people fall in love because of the way someone just makes them feel in general, right? So you just never really know. And that is something that we cannot control. I don't think that we control who we fall in love with, but we can control who we choose. I don't know. What do you guys think? You know? Sometimes you can fall in love with the most randomest person. And you're like, why do I love that person? Why? You know what I mean? But you do. You don't understand it, but you do. Right? So Irene says this generation is different from when we grew up. People don't work on relationships anymore. That is correct. They don't. They move on to the next quote unquote shiny thing and realize that it's not as shiny as they thought it was, or that the grass wasn't greener as much as they thought it was on the other side. Right? The grass stays green where you water it. That's what they say, right? But I also feel, and I've said this a million times and I'll continue to say it every day, some people, most people get married for all the wrong reasons. And sometimes those decisions that they make, right, those choices are not the right choices. Just situations happen, things happen, and they feel that that is what they have to do at that moment. They feel like, oh, I've been with this person for X amount of years. I guess that's the next step. But they have no love for that person. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. No one can really say if it's right or wrong. It's a decision that they want to make at that moment. But I also think that that is why there's a lot of infidelity. I think that is why there's a lot of marriages that end in divorce, because they are, they're taking love as a game. You know what I'm saying? They're not. They're like, oh well, you know what? One today, one tomorrow. Doesn't matter. This one comes in today, next one will come in tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And they're not, like you said, they're not working on those relationships. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe the ones that are really in love, maybe they are the ones who are working on those relationships. We rarely see that anymore. We rarely see those couples who have been together for so long and that are truly, truly in love with one another. I have very few friends that are like that. Very, very, very few friends. You know what I mean? But again, those are the couples that started off young. You know what I mean? And they have to, grow up together. Blue says you have to love you first. That is correct. And you should always, with that being said, Blue, you should always choose you first. And I think that's a big key right there. Some of us forget that. Some of us forget to put ourselves first, because at the end of the day, we have to love ourselves first, like you said. But we have to choose ourselves too first before anything. You know, that's just my opinion. So again, I, there is no right or wrong answer. This is just a casual conversation between us, right? So, but that is how I feel about that. But at the end of the day, like me, and I'm just using myself as an example, I don't know. I think maybe I want to be loved. I don't know. Love looks so different to so many people. That is correct, because love is a feeling and it's their interpretation of it, right? So it's their own interpretation of how they want, what they feel, and what they want to be reciprocated back to them, right? So yes, it does look different for a lot of people. Everyone has their different versions of it and different, feelings and emotions on it. You know? So I agree with that 100%. But I ask you guys. Irene says she would rather be chosen. Blue, Angie, what would you rather be, loved or chosen? Which one? I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds to comment. Me, I want to be both. I want to be loved and chosen. God damn it. That's what I want, right? Because anybody can choose me, right? You look for someone, and I'm just not saying. I'm saying in general, you look for someone who's pretty, who's handsome, who is a great provider, or whatever. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? But how? But I want both. I want to be loved and chosen at the same time. That's what I want, and that's probably something that is extremely impossible out there, but that is what it is. Oh, I know you guys think. Angie, Blue, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer to be loved or chosen? I already know Irene's answer. And for anyone else who's listening to us not on the live, who's listening to us on the replay or iHeart or YouTube or Spotify, any of the channels out there, put in the comments right there, which would you prefer, to be loved or to be chosen? And give us a reason why. We'll talk about it again next week on the show. So I'm waiting for your answers. Blue said she wants to be chosen to be loved. Okay. Do you think that's possible? I don't know. I don't know. I think if you were given, right, if you had two people that loved you right in front of you, right? That you knew loved you and were ready to choose you. But you only could choose one. Which one would you choose? Would you choose a person you love, or would you choose the one who loves you? I know that sounds weird, right? It's so weird. It's like I think any decision that you make, you have to work on it to try to make it work for you. But at the end of the day, sometimes we do choose wrong, right? Irene says, if you are chosen, you will be loved. Yeah, I guess. Mm, maybe. I don't know how true that is because maybe you were chosen for the wrong reasons too, because people make bad decisions all the time. And this is what I'm trying to say. People make bad decisions all the time. You know what I mean? So what if the person that you're choosing is the bad decision? Angie says, loved first, because if he loves you, he will choose you as his woman, partner, and lover. Not necessarily. Some men don't choose the woman that they love. They can love you or not choose you. That's what we were talking about in the beginning of the show. But if that's what you want to be loved first, okay, that's great. But not always is the person who chooses you do they love you, because sometimes they love someone else. It happens all the time. You see it all the time, you know? So I honestly don't know which is the right answer for me. Again, my opinion, because we all have our own opinions and our own thoughts and our own feelings of what we want and what we're looking for, right? But at the end of the day, it's hard to say. You either love right or love wrong, or you choose wrong or you choose right. Just there's no right answer because you just never know, you know? Truly love, he will choose you. I don't believe that neither. You know what I mean? I don't believe that neither. Or truly love, he will choose you. I don't think so. I don't believe in that neither because some people have other obligations, commitments, and things like that that they're into. And it just, maybe they know that they're not the right person for you. They can love you, but maybe they know that they're not the right person for you. And they don't want to put you through that knowing that they can't give you the things that you want or deserve. You know what I mean? Maybe they choose someone who know that they will tolerate the things that they do. They may not necessarily be in love with that person, but they know that that person will tolerate the things in their behaviors that they know you wouldn't. Correct. You can love the wrong person too. Exactly. Because love is not about the words, it's about actions. That is true. That is true. But most people hurt the ones that they love. So how about that? That's an action, right? So you see, there's no really right answer for it, right? There's really none because you just have to protect yourself in all ways. Hey Nino, how are you? So the topic of the day, Nino, you're gonna like this one, I think. Is it better to be loved or chosen? That is the topic of the day. That is the topic of the day, Nino. So chime in, feel free. We're here chatting about it, you know. You still haven't felt or experienced real love. Has anybody really experienced real love? Do we really even know what that looks like? You know what I mean? You don't know. You know? Good question would be, do you love out of necessity? That is correct. You know, but I think, Blue, I think you mentioned it earlier when you said you have to love yourself first, right? Because if you know you, right? No one should know you better than you, basically, at the end of the day. You should know yourself better than anybody else. And you're gonna know what you want, you're gonna know what you need, you're gonna know all of that, right? So you once you know that, I think then at that point you can kind of recognize the love that you want. Like Irene said earlier, love can look differently for different people, right? But you have to know the type of love that you want to receive first before you can even make any kind of conscious decision. Neil says chosen. He would rather be chosen. So give me your reason why, Nino. Tell me why you would prefer to be chosen than to be loved. That's what I want. That's what we're talking about today. Which is better and why do you believe that? What did I think my, no way. Oh, let's see. I'll wait for you guys to chime in. And Irene says, yes, I have. Yes, she has She has experienced true love. She knows what that looks like. You know what that looks like for you, which is a great thing, right? Because like you said before, everybody looks at love differently. So you know what that looks like for you, which is great. And it's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for Neil's answer. Let's see what he's got to say. There is no, guys, again, Neil, there is no right or wrong answer. This is just all opinion and just our topic of conversation for today. Um, so I'm just going to wait and see why you chose that. He said, Neil says, my successful relationships were chosen because if she wants you, she will make the effort. That is true. But what if she's making the effort for the wrong person? Now, I'm not saying you're the wrong person. I'm just asking general questions, right? Because sometimes we make decisions that are not the right ones as well. We fall in love with the wrong people, and sometimes we make the wrong choices as well, right? I am 40 years in, and I did the choose once I had him around me for a few years. It's best for the female to choose. Well, how can the female choose? Don't you have to pursue and make an effort to let her know that you're interested in choosing her first, right? But congratulations, Blue. That is very rare in today's age, right? It doesn't happen so very often, right? And then again, like I said, sometimes it happens for all the wrong reasons. You know? You know? You could be in love with somebody for all the wrong reasons and never be with that person, never even want to be with that person. Just saying. It happens, you know, and you could still make a wrong decision thinking that someone is better for you than the person that you love, and in reality, they're not. You just never really know, you know. But I think for me, just my opinion, I want to be both. I told you, I want to be loved and I want to be chosen. I want to be both. Let's see. He said, it's based on my experience, explained why I had toxics. That does explain why you have a lot of toxicas out there. It does, because maybe you're waiting for them to choose you instead of you choosing the right person for you. Ah, right? Yeah. You let them choose you. You let these toxicas choose you instead of you choosing the right person for yourself. Mm. Because all those experiences, we already know what they went through, right? So they may have chosen you, but they weren't the best choice for you, right? And that's another thing, because you can choose and it just may not be the right choice. Then you've lost the person that you love. That's crazy. But it's not crazy. It's not crazy. It's just something that happens every single day. You know what I mean? Someone told me not to be surprised if we meet again. Then toxic relationships are crazy. Yeah, they are. But they make for some interesting stories, right? And shit like that, right? I mean, and Angie says, "Want you and love you is totally different." Exactly. That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct. So, I thought it was a very interesting topic to get into today because it is, at the end of the day, it is a matter of choice, you know? God will send them when it's time. But then what if you choose wrong? That's the problem, right? What if God has given you every single person that was meant to love you and choose you, and you still chose wrong? And God's sitting up there like doing this with me, right? Right? Because I'm sure that's what my guardian angels do all the time, like, Tanina. Right? Angie says they might want you for the money or other things and not the right thing, which is totally love you for who you are. That is correct. Yeah. Nino says BRB. We got like 10 minutes. What do you mean BRB? You got to take a doo-doo or something? It's the only time you should be leaving the show. Just saying. He's making a choice. He's making a choice to leave us today. That's fine. But yes. But I think, you know, I always say this, and I say this all the time. I do believe that there is a person for every single person out there. Is the problem is that sometimes we choose wrong, and we end up missing those opportunities or that right person that is supposed to be meant for you. and then you miss them because you've made this choice over here. Now, I'm not saying in every situation, but that's just my opinion, and that's my warped little sense of whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, but that is sometimes what I feel. I do feel that there is one person for every single person out there. It's just that we don't take the time to wait, or not wait. I don't want to say wait, that's not the right thing. We don't take the time to find that person that matches and fills every single box that we have, right? Fills up every bucket that we have that is empty, that only that person can fill, right? So sometimes we're like, well, yeah, they do this and that, but I don't really like when they do this, but it's okay because they do this and this. But have they checked off all the boxes? No, they haven't. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of times why things happen because we, kind of expect, oh, well, maybe they'll do that later, or they'll grow into that, or, we start making excuses, right, for all the things that they're not fulfilling or satisfying in your life. And Irene says you learn from the experience. Exactly, which is why I said sometimes with younger folks, they haven't developed enough, they don't have enough experience to say whether or not what they like and what they don't like to be able to make these decisions. So when they do choose, they stay. You know what I'm saying? So, it could be the right reason, it could be the wrong reason. Well, they'll never know because they don't have, like you said, don't have enough experience to say those things. You know what I mean? But like I said, sometimes, people just, they make excuses for those empty boxes, empty buckets that are not being filled and satisfied, and just kind of like saying, okay, well, maybe they'll do it later, maybe they'll grow into it, or maybe I can change them, or maybe I can help them, or whatever. But the point of the matter is that you can't. They're who they are. You know, what you will learn, what you will accept and not accept. Absolutely. And that comes with experience. That comes with time. That comes with experience. Correct. You know, 100%. So, but going back, like I said, you know, it's a tough one. It's not an easy answer to. It's not an easy thing to answer. All boxes will never all be checked, but you never know that because we kind of settle. Most people settle. So we don't really know if all the boxes will be checked because of that mentality right there. Like, oh well, we can, yeah, maybe he didn't do this, but we can do that, da da da. You know what I'm saying? So, but you don't really know. That is something you have to work at. I agree. But it also takes two willing partners to do that. And if both partners are willing, then you can have a successful relationship. But if one partner is not willing and the other one is, that's when there's issues and drama. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's like I said, there is no right or wrong answer on this. There is no right or wrong. It's what you want. Do you want to be loved or do you want to be chosen? Which do you want? That's really at the end of the day, it's what you decide. That's why you see a lot of people who are not totally in love with the person that they went, but they're happy because that's the person that they chose, right? It's the person that they chose, and that person is making them happy and fulfilling their needs and certain things that they want. But it may not be necessarily the person that they love, and that's okay, I guess. I don't know. But you see it all the time. You see it every single day. But for me, like I said, I want to be both, god damn it. I guess that's why I'm still single, because I have zero patience and I cut motherfuckers off like there's no tomorrow. Like, no, I don't like the way he tied his shoes. Hmm. You know, that's just me, I'm not choosing someone who doesn't know how to tie their shoes the right way. I'm just saying. And that could be the asshole in me, because maybe that person, maybe they didn't know how to tie their shoes the right way, but maybe that's the person that's going to love me for the rest of my life. I don't know. But I will not choose them because I didn't like the way they tie their shoes. You know? But anyway, that's my little 2 cents of the day. Relationships are definitely not easy. That is 100%. But like I said, it does take two people who are willing to work at it every day, who are willing to choose each other every day, right? And who are willing to work on it every single day. And if you don't have both parties working towards those same things, the relationship is going to fail no matter what. No matter if you love or you don't love, or you have chosen or not chosen. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you and make it, whatever's going to work best for you. At the end of the day, no one can really tell you which answer is right or wrong. This is just a great topic that I wanted to talk about today because I just seen on TikTok. And it really made a lot of sense because I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Um, your choice, guys. We all have a choice in this life, right? No one is perfect. If you are looking for the perfect partner, you will end up alone or not happy. Or he snores. Some people may not like that. Some people may not mind it at all and will sleep right next to the nose and the mouth and hear it. You know, you just never know what someone is going to think at that particular moment. You know what I mean? So, you know, it is what it is. Everybody has a choice and everybody knows what they're willing to tolerate and willing to accept. You know what I mean? So you just never really know. At the end of the day, we all have a choice. And whatever choice you make, just make sure it's the right choice for you. Angie said, maybe Juanito with the missing tooth and stinky clothes would love you like a queen is about you helping them become the perfect man for yourself. And then Irene said, it's my anniversary on the show today. Oh, well, happy anniversary. Congratulations. And Angie, at the end of the day, I will not choose someone who stinks. That is just not happening in my book at all. Like, you better be wearing the best cologne and shower daily 2 times a day, and your clothes better be on smelly point. I'm just saying. That's like, hell no. That's not a choice that I'm willing to make. That's not a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. Sorry, not doing it. You see how I know myself? I will cut you off quickly. Exactly. Nah, bro. Don't come over here smelling like stank. Nuh-uh. But that all comes from experience, right? What we want, what we don't want, what we, expect and don't expect. I expect my partner to always smell good because it's what I like. Now, obviously, if they're working, we get that, blah, blah, blah. But, if you coming out and your clothes stinky, go wash them. Just in Gain, Tide, whatever you want to do, even Purex, whatever you want to do, but make sure them clothes smell good, okay? Just saying. But yes, relationship is all about work, and at the end of the day, that is the ultimate decision right there. You have to be willing to work on it, and like I said before, you have to have both parties that are willing to work the relationship. It works in a relationship. It will be correct. Both parties have to be willing to work, on it. You know what I mean? And at that point, then I think that you can fall in love because you both have made that conscious decision, right, to make that relationship work. And with that comes a certain amount of love in there somehow or whatever. You know, to smell good, you give a cologne. Yeah, I could, but it wouldn't attract me to him to even want to know his name to give him a cologne. I'm just saying. I'm being 100% honest. Call me an asshole, but if you're coming around me it's just I won't even look in your direction. I'll be like, ooh, no, thank you. Great laundry, good detergent. Yeah, that's true, but but I think that the person should know already. Like you should just know, you know. And if not, then go find someone who is willing to accept that. I'm not. Just it is what it is. That's not a choice that I'm willing to make. And that, at the end of the day, is the point right there. You make the choice. You make the decision. So, for me, I want both. I want to be chosen and loved. You know, just my random thought for the day. Well, anyway, guys, that's about all I have to tell you about today. So this week I have a very busy week going back to work because I missed all of last week just hanging out in Vegas, right? Made some new friends and things like that, went clubbing and did all the fun stuff, right? So, but now it's back to business, back to work, and I'm going to have a busy week this week and don't know what I'm doing the weekend yet, but it was just a great topic for us to talk about today. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, guys, if you are listening to us on iHeart, Spotify, Media OQ, watching us on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, whatever, leave us some comments. Let us know what your thoughts are. And send us a message at itstheshowpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Make the right decisions for yourself at the end of the day. Hey Mark, how are you? We're just about to leave, but thank you for tuning in. I'm going to tell you the topic real quick, and you can feel free to put your comments in there. The topic of the day was, is it better to be loved or chosen? That was the topic of the day. Feel free to chime in, put your comments in there, and maybe we'll get to them next week and see what your thoughts and opinions are. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your based on your own belief. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we have to understand. It is all about belief, right? And everybody has different beliefs and different things that they're willing to accept. So with that being said, know yourself. Like Blue said, I think that was one of the great, great comments of the day. Know yourself, know what you want, love yourself first, and everything else will fall into play. So, with that being said, guys, I appreciate every single one of you who tuned into this crazy thing we call the show. But it's about that time for me to get up on out of here. So, with that being said, guys, love, peace, and hair grease. Your girl Nina Rock is out. Bye.